We are continuing our series on the Canon C70, and today is all about autofocus. What's going on, everybody? James Jackson here, back again with another video. If you're new to my channel, I do tips, tricks, news, and reviews for the film and video making industry. So if you do like the content here, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you can stay up to date on all the content going forth. This one is actually going to probably be a little bit more quicker of a video than normal. But I definitely wanted to sort of give my thoughts on it because there's been a lot of talk about the autofocus of this camera compared to people's experience, especially those who have had prior experiences to Canon's more recent mirrorless cameras like the R, but more specifically the R5, this guy right here, and the R6. And I wanted to talk about it from my experience from the Canon cinema camera. I will just say this. Now, have I came across any autofocus issues with the Canon C70? And the answer is yes, I have. But I will say this: if you are a Canon cinema camera owner of priors like the C200, the C300 Mark III, the C500, this may not seem like a big deal to you. This may seem like something that you are used to. But if you come from the mirrorless line, which has a newer processor with the Digic X processor, compared to the cinema cameras, especially the recent generation ones that have the Digic 7 processor, and the fact that this has the second generation of dual pixel autofocus, there is a noticeable difference, especially if you're doing more like the touch to focus, where you have the box and you show up and you try to press it. In most situations, it works okay. However, trying to find the best way to say this, but I'm just gonna say it. This camera does not like black. it doesn't like black. It doesn't like shadows. It doesn't like dark areas. So if you underexpose, or especially if you're someone who has darker skin, someone of a darker hue, and you're in an underlit situation, this camera does not like you in terms of autofocus. Now, what I will say is, even if you light, it's like, and I noticed some people were saying, oh, well, I've lit it. Yeah, it doesn't like black. It sees black and it's looking at the lumens value, and it's not gonna work. However, if you're somewhere, if your darker stuff is sort of more in the middle gray area, then it's fine and it works. And also, I would tell you guys to enable face only tracking, and I'll get into the different focus modes. But I can understand that may be a bit of a shock to a lot of you guys that are used to the mirrorless line of cameras, where this thing can see in the dark. I think if you guys watched my review of the R5, if you haven't, I will definitely leave a link somewhere up here, where I talked about how I was able to snap a picture of this camera with my buddy's face like completely in the black, and this camera found the eye of the side that was in the black. So in terms of seeing like people's faces in the background, this camera is like on a whole nother level compared to the cinema line of cameras. However, as someone from me who's coming from a C200, I'm used to this deficiency from the cinema cameras. So it didn't really bother me as much as some people, has been an issue for some people. My buddy Gaston Shutters, he has been, texting me back and forth, and I can totally understand why this may be a problem for him, since he's used to the R5 and the A7S III, which have really great, amazing autofocus. This one's a little bit different because these cameras are really designed to work with lenses like the one I got on right now, which are cinema lenses that really don't have any focus system. Where the autofocus really shines on these cameras is sit down talking heads, where you can do the face only or face priority modes. That is really where the autofocus is at its most advantage. So in those situations, definitely use a camera. You can use the cameras like the C70. Now, could you enable something like the tracking mode? Yes. Keep in mind you're only using 80% of the sensor compared to here, where you're using 100%, or at the very least very, very close to 100% of the sensors, like on the R5. So if you stray too far to the side, it will lose track. The tracking will lose, and you have to start it over again. So these are things that you just got to be aware of if you're going to start using these for autofocus. You could definitely use these for gimbals if you know what you're doing. However, overall for me, the R5 compared to the C70 is a better companion, especially for like gimbal use, because one, it's lighter, but also the autofocus is like on point. This one is really great if you're having a sit down, when you're doing interviews and talking heads and things like that. Outside of that, outside of those, you're probably better off manual focusing, especially if you're working with a lot of people of color with darker skin. It's better off to just go ahead and work on some manual focus. And this is just, it's a caveat of the cinema line of cameras. Is for whatever reason, they don't like darker skin, and they don't like black. So anything that's black, it doesn't like. I don't know why, it just does. These are the findings I had regarding the autofocus of the C70. If you guys do have any more questions regarding the autofocus, definitely leave your comments below, and I will definitely try to get back to them. And if there's enough comments, I'll probably even make a response video for you guys as well. But in the meantime, hopefully this information was enough for you guys. Once again, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. The likes definitely help out the channel. And until next time, guys, take care, everyone.